When jealousy rose, Ana de Armas was humbled by Keanu Reeves's kindness. The night was calm, but inside the crowded hall the air was heavy with whispers. Cameras clicked, lights flashed, and voices rose in excitement. It was the premiere of a long-awaited film, and both Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas stood among the stars. The world was watching. Yet behind the shine, there was something hidden. Jealousy was quietly building, and no one could have predicted how it would shape the night. Ana had worked for years to earn her place, but on that evening, every conversation seemed to orbit around Keanu. People laughed louder when he spoke. Fans reached farther to touch his hand, and reporters seemed more eager for his words. Ana smiled politely, but inside her chest a quiet ache grew. She wondered if her efforts, her sacrifices, her sleepless nights, would ever be enough to stand beside someone like him without feeling invisible. As the night went on, Ana felt the weight pressing down harder. A director praised Keanu's kindness. In public, another actor shared a story of his humility, and even the staff whispered about how gentle he was with everyone. She tried to join in, but each compliment given to him became a reminder of what she lacked. Jealousy does not always shout. Sometimes it grows quietly, wrapping itself around the heart until every beat feels heavy. Ana stood there, her face bright for the cameras, but her thoughts darkened. Then came a moment that none of them could avoid. During an interview, a reporter asked Ana a question meant to celebrate her role. Yet instead of answering with her heart, she let her jealousy slip out. She made a comment, small but sharp, about Keanu. It was not cruel, but it carried a hidden sting, a suggestion that his fame was larger than his talent. The crowd froze for a second. The silence was louder than applause. Eyes shifted to Keanu, waiting for his reply. This was the moment when pride could clash with pride, when anger could burn brighter than kindness. But Keanu did not fight. He did not raise his voice or turn away. Instead, he looked at Ana with calm eyes, the kind of eyes that saw not the words, but the pain behind them. He gave a small smile and said something simple, something so unexpected that it changed the whole room. He said, "She has worked harder than anyone I know, and she deserves every light that shines here tonight." His voice was steady, filled with respect, not defense. In that moment, the hall shifted. People clapped, not for drama, but for the strength of humility. The words wrapped around Ana like a warm blanket she had not asked for. Inside, she felt the sting of shame. Her jealousy had spoken, but his kindness had answered. She wanted to look away, to hide from the crowd, but his steady presence kept her rooted. He had chosen kindness when pride could have taken control. He had chosen to lift her when she had tried to pull him down. It was a moment that struck deeper than applause or fame. It was a lesson she had not expected to learn under the bright lights. After the interview ended, Ana walked away with her thoughts racing. The night was not just about the film anymore. It was about what had just happened. About the kind of strength that does not need to show power, but instead shows patience and grace. She felt her heart heavy with regret, but also touched with something new. Respect, humility, resilience, kindness. These were not just words spoken in interviews. They were choices made in the hardest moments. As the night grew darker, Ana found herself watching Keanu from a distance. He greeted fans, with soft smiles, helped a young worker carry heavy equipment, and treated every person, famous or not, with the same gentle care. The more she watched, the more the walls inside her began to crack. She realized her jealousy had blinded her to something greater. True greatness was not about being noticed. It was about noticing others. The first part of this story ends here, with a moment that would stay in Ana's memory forever. What began as jealousy became the spark for a journey of humility and kindness. But this was only the beginning. What came after would test both their hearts in ways neither of them expected. The silence after kindness. The night after the premiere was quiet, but Anna's mind was not. She lay in her room, the city lights glowing faintly through the window, and replayed every second of what had happened. Her words, her jealousy, her small attempt to hurt echoed louder in her memory than they had in the hall. But what stayed with her even more was his answer. Keanu's kindness was not forced, not spoken to please the crowd, but real. He had lifted her up in front of everyone when she had tried to push him down. The silence of her room made that moment even heavier. She thought about the look in his eyes. It was not anger. It was not pity. It was calm, like he understood more than she said, as if he could see through her frustration and find the wounded part of her heart. Anna turned on her side, pulling the blanket closer, wondering why it hurt so much. Was it shame? Was it regret? Or was it something deeper? The realization that she had been chasing recognition in the wrong way. The next morning, she walked into the studio for press interviews. She carried herself with her usual grace, her smile polished and ready, but inside she felt fragile. She expected whispers, maybe even coldness from those who had witnessed the moment. Yet, to her surprise, people treated her kindly. Some even complimented her performance with more warmth than before. Still, the unease inside her did not fade. She knew they were only speaking kindly because of what Keanu had said. His words had shielded her, had turned what could have been humiliation into respect. And that thought unsettled her even more. As she prepared for another interview, she saw Keanu in the corner of the room. He was laughing softly with one of the staff, not a loud laugh, but one that carried warmth. He noticed her looking, and instead of avoiding her, he raised his hand in a small wave. She hesitated, then walked over. Her chest tightened as if each step pulled her into a place she wasn't ready for. "About last night," she began softly, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "I should not have said that. I let something ugly come out." Her throat tightened as she spoke. Keanu looked at her, his face calm, his eyes gentle. "We all have those moments," he said. "What matters is what we do after them." His words were not heavy, but they struck deeply. Anna nodded, though her heart was restless. She wanted to say more, to explain the storm that had led her to speak in jealousy, but the words stuck. Keanu did not press her. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder. A brief, steady touch, and then walked away to greet another actor. It was simple. Almost too simple. But that was the power of it. He did not hold her mistake against her. He did not remind her of it. He simply let her carry the choice of who she wanted to be next. Throughout the day, Anna watched him again. The way he treated everyone equally, the way he carried himself without needing to demand attention. Each moment added weight to the lesson she was slowly learning. But lessons are not easy. Jealousy does not vanish overnight. That evening, when she returned home, she felt a battle inside her. Part of her wanted to cling to pride, to believe she was above needing his kindness, but another part, the part growing louder, whispered that she had something to learn, something more important than fame. The days passed, and the film tour continued. Each city brought more interviews, more lights, more faces, and with each step, Anna found herself changing. She began to notice the people around her more, the assistants who worked quietly, the fans who waited hours just for a smile, the young actors who looked up to her. She began to speak to them differently, not out of duty, but out of genuine care. Sometimes she caught herself wondering, was this because of Keanu? Or was it because she had finally opened her eyes? One evening, after a long day of press, Anna walked out of the hotel and found Keanu sitting on a bench under a soft streetlight. He looked peaceful, sipping tea from a paper cup, watching the world pass by. She hesitated before sitting beside him. Neither spoke for a moment. The silence was not heavy. It was gentle, like the pause between heartbeats. Finally, she whispered, "Do you ever feel invisible?" He turned to her, surprised by the question. "Sometimes," he said. "But I think being invisible gives you a chance to see others more clearly." His answer lingered in the air. Anna looked down at her hands, realizing how much she had been trapped in wanting to be seen. She had measured her worth by lights, cameras, and applause, forgetting that true worth is found in how you treat people when no one is watching. The night breeze carried their silence, and in that stillness, something shifted inside her. It was not a sudden transformation, but a small step. A quiet acceptance that maybe, just maybe, humility was not weakness. Maybe it was strength. This was the beginning of her journey, but the path ahead would not be easy. Jealousy does not disappear. It tests you again and again. And soon, Anna would face moments where the choice between pride and kindness would become harder, where her heart would be tested in ways she did not expect. The quiet storm inside, the tour moved to another city, bigger and brighter than the last. The hotel lobby was filled with reporters, fans, and cameras waiting at every corner. Anna walked through the crowd with a smile, but inside her chest, the storm had returned. It was not as sharp as before, but it was still there. Jealousy, mixed with doubt, waiting for a chance to rise again. Kindness can touch the heart, but pride does not surrender easily. During the press event that day, a question was asked that stirred the storm. A journalist praised Keanu for his legacy and asked if young actors like Anna had learned from him. The words were innocent, but they carried a sting. In front of everyone, she was once again placed in his shadow. Her lips curved into a polite smile, but her heart twisted. She wanted to speak, to remind them she had her own journey, her own struggles, her own victories. The temptation was strong, like a fire ready to break free. But then she caught Keanu's eyes across the room. He gave her a small nod, not telling her what to do, but reminding her she had a choice. She took a breath, and instead of answering, with pride, she said, "I think what I learn most is how he treats people, not just how he works on screen. That is what makes him unforgettable." The crowd clapped. The moment passed, and Anna felt something strange inside. Peace, not anger. For the first time, she chose humility, and it gave her more strength than pride ever had. Later that night, when the lights faded and the crowd disappeared, Anna stood on the balcony of her hotel room, looking at the city below. She thought about the answer she gave. It had not been easy, but it felt right. She realized that every time she chose kindness over jealousy, her heart felt lighter. But she also knew the storm was not gone. Storms rarely vanish in one night. They wait for another moment, another weakness. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. It was Keanu, holding 2 cups of tea. "I thought you might want some company," he said softly. She let him in, and they sat together by the window. The city lights reflected in the glass, and for a while they said nothing. Then Keanu spoke. "You did well today." Anna looked at him, unsure if he meant the interview or something more. "I almost slipped," she admitted. "I almost said something selfish again." "But you didn't," he replied gently. "That is what matters. We are not defined by what we almost do. We are defined by what we choose." His words stayed with her. She wondered how someone could carry such calmness after all he had faced in his life. She had read about his struggles, his losses, the pain that would have broken many people. Yet, here he was, sitting quietly, offering kindness without asking for anything in return. The silence between them grew deep, but it was not empty. It was filled with unspoken respect. Anna felt something shift again. She realized that kindness was not just about words spoken in public. It was about the small choices, the quiet moments, the patience to see beyond yourself. But the world outside was not always kind. The next day, at another event, a rumor spread quickly through the crowd. Someone whispered that Anna had insulted Keanu again, twisting her words from the past premiere into something worse. Reporters rushed with questions, and social media began to stir with headlines. Anna's chest tightened. She felt fear creeping in, stronger than jealousy, stronger than pride. She worried people would see her as ungrateful, disrespectful, undeserving. As she sat alone backstage, trembling, Keanu walked in. He had heard the noise outside, but his face remained calm. "Don't worry," he said, sitting beside her. "Truth has its way of finding light." Anna shook her head. "But what if they believe it? What if everyone thinks I hate you?" Keanu gave a small smile. "Then I will tell them myself that it is not true. Your heart speaks louder than rumors. People will see it in time." His trust in her, his willingness to shield her again, broke something inside her pride. Tears filled her eyes, not from shame this time, but from gratitude. She realized he was teaching her not through lectures, but through example. Every action, every choice he made was shaping her, showing her another way to live. As the night ended, Anna stood before the mirror in her room. She looked at her own reflection, and for the first time, she did not see only a rising actress chasing lights. She saw a woman learning to be stronger through humility, through resilience, through kindness. Yet deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning. The storm of jealousy would test her again, and the road ahead would not be simple. But she also knew she was no longer walking alone. Keanu's presence was a steady flame, guiding her through the shadows she had created for herself. When the world turned against her, the morning after the rumor spread, Anna woke to a flood of notifications on her phone. Her name was everywhere, attached to headlines that painted her as jealous, bitter, and ungrateful. Social media had taken the small misunderstanding and turned it into a storm. People compared her to Keanu, praising his humility and condemning her imagined arrogance. The more she scrolled, the heavier her chest became. She put the phone down, but the voices remained inside her mind. At the hotel lobby, reporters crowded the entrance, shouting questions that cut through the air. "Anna, do you really resent him? Anna, why did you speak against Keanu?" The cameras flashed, capturing every movement, every flicker of expression. She wanted to shout the truth, to clear the air, but she knew words could be twisted. Again. She forced a smile and walked past them, though her heart felt like glass ready to shatter. Keanu noticed her struggle. When they sat together before the next interview, he leaned closer and said quietly, "Don't fight the storm with anger. It will only grow louder. Face it with patience. The truth will last longer than noise." Anna wanted to believe him, but patience felt like weakness in a world that moved so fast. Still, when the cameras turned on, she remembered his words. Instead of defending herself with pride, she chose honesty. "There has been a misunderstanding," she said. "I respect Keanu more than words can explain. If anything I said before was taken differently, I regret that. He has been nothing but kind to me." Her voice trembled, but she spoke from her heart. The room grew quiet, and for a moment the crowd seemed unsure. Then Keanu spoke beside her. "She is telling the truth," he said calmly. "Her heart has always been kind." His words carried more weight than hers, and slowly the room softened. The interview moved on, but the tension lingered. That night, however, things took a darker turn. An online post appeared, claiming to have proof of her insulting him behind closed doors. It was false, but the picture painted her as dishonest. Comments poured in, cruel and sharp, each one another wound to her spirit. Anna sat alone in her room, staring at the screen, her hands trembling. She felt the old jealousy rise again. But this time it was mixed with anger, not at Keanu, but at the world that seemed eager to break her. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I am not strong enough for this world." A knock came at the door. She wiped her face quickly, but when she opened it, Keanu was standing there. He looked at her silently, noticing the redness in her eyes, the weight on her shoulders. Without asking questions, he stepped inside and sat across from her. "You don't have to hide pain," he said gently. "Pain is not weakness. It is a reminder that you are still human." Anna broke then, confessing everything. The jealousy she had felt, the shame that haunted her, the fear of being small, in his shadow. She told him how her pride had spoken that night at the premiere, how regret had followed her since. Her voice cracked as she said, "I wanted people to see me. Not just you. I wanted to matter." Keanu listened quietly, never interrupting. When she finished, he spoke softly. "You do matter, not because of the lights, not because of the applause, but because of who you are. Fame fades. Kindness stays. Don't let jealousy steal the person you truly are." His words washed over her like rain on dry soil. For the first time, she felt understood, not judged. His kindness humbled her again, breaking down the last defenses of her pride. She looked at him with tearful eyes, realizing how much strength it took to respond to cruelty with grace, to meet jealousy with compassion. But even as she found comfort in his presence, the world outside was not done testing her. The false rumor continued to spread, and the studio began to worry. Managers whispered about how her image might hurt the film, and sponsors considered pulling out. Anna was no longer fighting just for herself. She was fighting for her career. And yet, in the middle of the chaos, Keanu stood beside her. He defended her in every interview, refused to let the lies grow unchecked, and reminded everyone of her talent and hard work. His loyalty became her shield, even as her heart wrestled with guilt for ever resenting him. The storm outside was fierce, but inside, something was changing. Anna was no longer just reacting. She was learning. Every attack, from the world, every cruel comment was met with his example. Respect, humility, resilience, kindness. They were no longer just themes of his life. They were becoming hers. As she lay in bed that night, she whispered to herself, "This is my test. If I can endure this with grace, I will never let jealousy own me again." But she did not know yet that the hardest test was still to come. There would be a moment when she would have to stand for him just as he had stood for her, and in that moment her heart would be revealed fully. When she had to stand for him, days turned into weeks, and the storm did not fade. The rumor that had first targeted Anna began to twist in another direction. Some voices online, desperate for drama, started questioning Keanu himself. They claimed his kindness was only an act, that his calmness was nothing more than a mask. People took his silence as weakness, his humility as strategy. It was cruel, it was false, but the world that once praised him so loudly now demanded proof of his goodness. Anna watched this unfold with a mix of fear and anger. She had seen his kindness with her own eyes. She had felt it heal her jealousy, shield her shame, and remind her of who she truly wanted to be. Yet now, the same world that had once placed him on a pedestal was trying to tear him down. She remembered the nights he had comforted her, the way he had defended her when everyone doubted her. And now, she knew, it was her turn. The test came during a live press event. The room was full, the cameras were rolling, and questions flew fast. A reporter stood and, without hesitation, asked in a sharp voice, "Anna, don't you think Keanu's kindness is just an image? Maybe it's all part of his reputation to look better than others. What do you really think?" The hall went still. Everyone turned to her. The question was a trap. If she agreed, she would betray the man who had lifted her countless times. If she stayed silent, people might believe the rumor even more. Her chest tightened, her hands trembled, but deep in, her heart she knew this was the moment. She took a breath and spoke slowly, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "No," she said, "what you see is not an act. I have seen him in quiet moments when no one was watching. I have seen him carry boxes for staff when cameras were gone. I have seen him listen to strangers with full respect. I have seen him comfort people when no one expected him to. His kindness is not for the world. It is who he is." The room stayed silent for a long second. Then the crowd began to clap. Some reporters lowered their eyes, embarrassed for doubting. Keanu sat beside her, his head bowed slightly as if humbled by her words. But when he looked up at her, there was gratitude in his eyes, a silent thank you that spoke louder than any applause. After the event, they stepped outside into the cool night air. Anna's heart was still racing, her hands still shaking, but she felt something powerful inside her. For the first time, she had stood not for herself, but for someone else. She had given back what he had given her: protection, respect, and truth. "You didn't have to do that," Keanu said gently, his voice calm as always. "I did," she replied, her eyes firm. "You stood for me when I didn't deserve it. I couldn't stay quiet when the world questioned you." He smiled faintly, that soft smile that always carried more than words. "Then you understand now," he said. She tilted her head. "Understand what?" "That kindness is not about waiting for someone to deserve it. It's about giving it anyway. And the moment you choose it for someone else, you become stronger than pride." Anna felt her chest tighten, but not with shame this time. It was with something new, something brighter. She realized she had crossed a line within herself. Jealousy no longer owned her. Pride no longer guided her. Instead, she felt the quiet strength of humility, the resilience that comes from kindness, and the respect that grows when you lift others higher. But even as peace filled her heart, she knew the story was not yet over. Life has a way of testing us again and again, and there would come a moment when everything they had built together, trust, respect, kindness, would be pushed to its edge. For now, though, she walked beside him under the city lights, feeling a calm she had never known before. What had begun as jealousy was slowly becoming transformation, and in that transformation, she was discovering the truest part of herself. The hardest choice. The world began to calm after Anna spoke for Keanu. The rumors slowed, the voices softened, and people started to see the truth. Yet peace never lasts long in a world that feeds on noise. Just as things began to settle, a new challenge appeared, one that would test both of them more than the whispers ever had. The studio executives called Anna into a private meeting. The film was about to release worldwide, and they were worried. Though the drama had shifted, her name was still linked to controversy. One executive leaned forward, his voice sharp but calm. "Anna, the only way to save your image is to create some distance." "From him." Her heart dropped. "From Keanu?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," another replied firmly. "You must let the public see you on your own. No interviews with him, no appearances by his side. If you keep standing with him, people will tie your name to the past drama forever. If you want your career to grow, you need to step away now." Their words cut through her like cold steel. She sat frozen, her mind racing. The same man who had lifted her when she fell, who had defended her against lies, who had shown her what kindness really meant. She was being asked to abandon him. It was a test she had not expected, a test that pierced deeper than jealousy ever had. That night, she sat in her hotel room staring at the city lights. Her phone buzzed with messages from her manager urging her to agree with the executives. Every message repeated the same thing. Think about your future. Protect your career. She clenched the phone in her hand, torn between the voice of ambition and the voice of her heart. Then came another knock. She opened the door to find Keanu standing there again, holding nothing this time. No tea, no distraction, only his steady presence. He seemed to sense her turmoil. "They told you, didn't they?" he asked softly. Anna nodded, unable to find her words. He gave a faint smile. "Then do what you must. Don't worry about me." Her chest tightened. "How can you say that?" she asked, her voice breaking. "You defended me when no one else did. You carried me through when I was drowning. And now they want me to walk away from you as if none of that mattered. I don't know if I can." Keanu's eyes were calm, filled with the same quiet strength she had come to know. "Because kindness is not about being repaid," he said. "I never helped you to earn loyalty. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. And if stepping away helps you, then I would not hold it against you." Tears burned her eyes. His words, his selflessness, made the choice even harder. She realized then that this was the final test, not just for her loyalty, but for who she truly wanted to be. The next day, during the global press conference, the question came like a dagger. A journalist asked loudly, "Anna, do you believe your career would be better if you separated yourself from Keanu Reeves?" The hall went silent. The executives watched from the corner, waiting for her answer, their careers tied to her words. Her manager's voice echoed in her mind. "Distance yourself. Save your future." But then she looked at Keanu, seated beside her, quiet and calm as always. She remembered the night of the premiere, his words when she had tried to wound him. She remembered the rumors, the lies, the nights he sat with her in silence so she wouldn't feel alone. She remembered how he had taught her that greatness was not measured by applause, but by how you treat people when the world is not watching. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding, and then she spoke, clear and steady. "No," she said, "I would not be better without him. I would be less. Because standing beside someone who shows the world what true kindness looks like does not weaken me. It makes me stronger. If I must lose something for that, then I will. But I will not walk away." The hall erupted in noise. Some clapped, some whispered, some shook their heads. The executives frowned, but the fans watching felt something powerful. Her words were not strategy, they were truth. Keanu turned to her slowly, his eyes glistening with gratitude. He said nothing, but his look told her everything. She had chosen not pride, not fear, not ambition, but respect, resilience, humility, and kindness. The very lessons he had given her that night. As they walked together through the quiet streets, Anna felt a peace she had never known. For the first time, she had chosen to stand even when it cost her something. And in that choice, she found not loss, but freedom. But life is never without twists. The film was about to premiere worldwide, and the world was waiting. What happened next would show them both that even when kindness wins, the tests of life never end. The final light, the day of the worldwide premiere, arrived. The theater was filled with the brightest names in film. Cameras lined every corner, and millions watched live across the globe. It was not just another premiere. It was a night where the world would judge not only the film, but also the people who carried it. For Anna, it was the night her choice to stand by. Keanu would either break her career or prove her strength. The red carpet shimmered under the lights. Reporters shouted questions, fans held banners, and flashes lit the night sky like thunder. Anna stepped out of the car with her heart racing. She wore a calm smile, but inside, a storm of doubt pressed against her chest. She wondered if she had ruined everything by refusing to distance herself. She wondered if the executives would finally give up on her. But when Keanu appeared beside her, walking with the same steady grace, her doubts softened. His presence was like a shield, steady and unshaken. As they posed for photos, the crowd chanted his name louder than hers. She felt the old ache of jealousy stir, but it did not control her anymore. Instead, she turned and took his hand, lifting it slightly so that the cameras caught them together. The crowd roared louder, and for the first time, she did not feel overshadowed. She felt stronger standing beside him than she ever could alone. Inside the theater, the film began. The audience watched in silence, caught in the story they had both given their hearts to. But during the screening, a moment of truth arrived. Halfway through, the projector malfunctioned. The screen went black, the sound stopped, and the crowd grew restless. Whispers rose, frustration filled the air. In a room filled with critics, executives, and celebrities, chaos was brewing. Anna froze in her seat, panic rushing through her. She knew how quickly frustration could turn into blame. The executives looked tense, worried that the night would be remembered as a failure. Then, to her surprise, Keanu stood. He did not wait for technicians or speeches. He walked calmly to the stage, picked up a microphone, and faced the restless audience. "Sometimes," he said softly, "the world asks us to be patient. This film was made with love, and while we wait, let us remember why we are here, not just for a story on screen, but for the stories we carry in our lives, the struggles, the lessons, the kindness that holds us together." His voice carried through the hall, and the room fell silent. People leaned in, listening. There was no anger in his tone, no fear, only calm strength. The tension melted away. Some even clapped softly. Anna's chest tightened as she watched him. This was who he was, the man who could turn storms into stillness, who could turn jealousy into humility, who could make silence louder than applause. And in that moment, she realized something deeper than ever before. It was never about fame, or reputation, or even success. It was about the light a person left in the hearts of others. When the film resumed, the audience watched with renewed focus. By the end, they stood on their feet, clapping with thunderous applause, not just for the story, but for what they had witnessed in real life. A reminder that humility and kindness were stronger than pride and noise. After the premiere, as the night air cooled and the crowd dispersed, Anna and Keanu stood outside under the soft glow of the city lights. The noise of cameras and voices faded into the distance, leaving only the quiet between them. Anna turned to him, her eyes shining with tears she no longer tried to hide. "You taught me more than any film or stage ever could. You taught me that greatness is not about standing above others. It is about standing with them. I don't know if the world will ever see me the way they see you. But I know now. I don't need them to." Keanu looked at her with that calm smile, the same one that had carried her through every storm. "Then you've learned the only lesson that matters." The wind brushed against them, carrying away the last remnants of jealousy, fear, and pride. Anna felt lighter than she ever had. She had entered the journey with envy in her heart, but she was leaving it with strength, respect, and a kindness she would carry for the rest of her life. Their story was not about headlines anymore, not about rumors or applause. It was about two people who, in the face of jealousy and misunderstanding, discovered the unshakable power of humility and kindness. And though the world would move on, the lesson remained timeless. Sometimes, the most powerful battles are not fought on stages or in front of cameras. They are fought in the heart, in the quiet choice between pride and kindness. And when kindness wins, it does not just change one person, it changes everyone who witnesses it.